I want to talk for just a minute about Trump's meeting with Zelensky in the White House. Now, he got very heated, and we're going to show some B-roll footage of that meeting. But in the meeting, it just kind of started out bad and got worse. Mm-hmm. And Zelensky was very disrespectful. Didn't wear a suit, came in, not casual, but certainly not dressed up for a White House meeting. And when President Trump began to present to President Zelensky, a deal there, he just batted it back and said there had to be preconditions and this and that. What was your take on that?
Well, my take on that is, that should have been taken care of before.
Right.
And as Zelensky has a problem, all you do is go out there before the cameras, you say good things, you agree with what's going on. Then if you have a problem, you can go back, behind closed doors after that and bring that up again, some other problem. So I thought, that's totally the wrong forum to do that. And, a lot of other presidents would have just kind of gone along and kind of tried to smooth it over and good. But Trump's not that kind of a person. No. He's going to bring it right out into the open. In fact, he was I'd say he's enjoyed it. But, he said, hey, I've let this go as long as I have, because I want you all to see what's going on there. And there really was a lot to that. It really was kind of an unmasking a little bit of Zelensky. I think how pushy he is in trying to get what they want. And I understand that their country's under siege, but he hasn't shown a lot of gratitude and just keeps pushing and pushing for more. Whatever he gets, it's more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a very interesting unveiling. But, people see things the way they see it. People that don't like President Trump, are going to use that to bash him, of what he's like. People that like him are going to see it in a more positive light. So people see what they want to see.
Right.
But now, I believe what's going to happen is he's already said that he still wants to sign this rare earth minerals deal. But now what I think is going to happen is Trump's going to get even more because now he's wanting it badly. And so now Trump's going to say, okay, we'll do it now. But now we want even more. So I think, again, it's another negotiating tool because once you get somebody on the defensive like that, then you can extract more out of them. And so I think that's what's going to probably end up happening from that. But I think eventually there's going to be some kind of peace over there. They're going to have to probably give away the land that's been taken by Russia. And I know that's not going to make Ukrainians happy or make him happy, but that's what's going to take place at some point in time. But Russia is being massively degraded as well. And in fact, that's what I'm going to talk about on my show this week is on Marking the End Times, talk about how much they're being degraded. They want peace as well in this situation.
Well, they're going to give up land. There's no point of even discussing that. Ukraine is going to have to give up land in this deal. The only question is how much. Where's the demarcation line going to be? But the thing that I thought, Mark, in that is what do you have to lose from a ceasefire? And what President Trump was saying is, we're going to start with a ceasefire and then negotiate and blah, blah, blah. And he says there has to be preconditions for a ceasefire. Well, all that's happening right now is death, both sides. Right. They're just and this is what Trump is saying. And these are human beings. We got to stop the killing. So I think that there is going to be some reconciliation of that. Now you have some news articles there. Why don't you talk about some of your news articles?
Well, yeah, a couple articles. One of them I think is fascinating is it's an article that says, the headline says, Russia thinks the West is weak. Europe must make a stand now. And the article goes on and talks about how Russia perceives the West, especially, it's primarily talking about Europe and the weakness that's there and how Europe right now is really having to up its game and begin to spend a lot more money on its military. President Trump has made it very clear that he doesn't want to be the world's defender anymore. Yeah. He doesn't want these economies in Europe. They have plenty of money to have their own military, to spend their money on that, even in Japan and other places. And so what I think is interesting about this is I believe after the rapture takes place, that during the tribulation period, if that's when the Gog-Magog invasion occurs, there's different views of the timing of it. But if that's when it takes place, I think, the two major powers are going to be this Russian, Iranian coalition, and then you're going to have this European coalition. So you're going to have Gog and you're going to have the Antichrist. And the Antichrist is going to have a treaty with Israel, a peace treaty. Gog, Magog, they're going to invade Israel in violation of that. and their armies are going to be wiped out. And at that point in time, I think Antichrist is going to come in and kind of fill that power vacuum and begin to ascend in the world. But I think what we're seeing right now is Europe becoming much stronger, becoming much more assertive. They're going to be building up their military assets. So I think a lot of that fits in with the rise of the Antichrist. And I believe the Antichrist will rise from a revived or reunited Roman Empire.
Right.
Spoken of in Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. So if that's true, then we should expect that Europe is going to get stronger as we get closer to the end. And, they're basically saying now that, the leader in Germany has said, we're going to have to find a new leader now. In other words, we're going to have to, we're on our own. We're going to have to take care of ourselves. And I think even just politically, that's a good thing as well. Those countries have plenty of money to pay for their own defense. We don't need to keep doing that as a nation any longer. All the money we keep sending these other nations, we're borrowing it. And what are we, $36 trillion in debt now, or something like that. So I think this whole idea of the strengthening of the EU, probably the strengthening of NATO, the strengthening of Europe, is really an interesting stage setter for the rise of the Antichrist.
Yeah, it's on that point. There's an article here from the Times of Israel, and this is really kind of surprising to me, and I want to get your take on it. But the report is Israel is lobbying the United States to keep Russian bases in a weak Syria. Now, Russia obviously has tremendous influence in the Middle East, Iran, Turkey, many others. But let me read a little bit from this report. It says, Israel is lobbying the United States to keep Syria weak and decentralized, including by letting Russia keep its military bases there to counter Turkey's growing influence in the country. 4 sources familiar with the effort told Reuters. Turkey's often fraught ties with Israel have come under severe strain during the Gaza war, and Israeli officials have told Washington that Syria's new Islamic rulers, who are backed by Ankara, pose a threat to Israel's borders, the sources said. We skip down here. Israel's big fear is that Turkey comes in and protects this new Syrian Islamic order, which then ends up being a base for Hamas and other militants. But at the end of this article, just one more little paragraph here. It says, when Israeli officials presented Russia's continued presence in a positive light in a meeting with U.S. officials, some attendees were surprised, arguing that Turkey, a NATO member, would be a better guarantor of Israel's security. 2 of the U.S. sources said. Israeli officials were adamant that was not the case. And I think this is a historic blunder that the United States and other Western nations have made, is they don't get the Islamic issue. And, this was true when the empire, the Ottoman Empire fell, Turkey, in the early 20th century, and they came in and just started redrawing lines of countries like Iraq, not understanding that they had Sunni and Shia Muslims that they were trying to put in bed together. And so what Turkey is radical, the leader is, he is radical, he is rabidly against Israel, and what he wants is he wants the Islamic domination of Israel. He wants to destroy Israel, just like Iran wants to do, and for there to be an Islamic rule in Israel. And so what Israel is saying is, we would rather have Russia than Turkey. And the United States officials are saying, we don't understand that. NATO's Turkey's a NATO member. Why wouldn't you want them? And so this is something that it's surprising to me. You have Russia, who's not a friend of Israel. They're not an enemy like Turkey, but they're certainly not a friend. Then you have Turkey, and they're actually wanting them to stay there in that void.
Well, yeah, because they realize, again, Russia's not, they don't have a religious background really in any of this.
Right.
To them, it's just geopolitics.
Right.
With Turkey, it's coming in there to bring their, the Islamist views and to install these Islamist groups in Syria. What I think's fascinating about Syria is ever since the civil war began there, you've had Russian presence there and Iranian presence there to a large degree. When this group HTS comes in, Iran's out now basically as a major player. Russia's out. Now Turkey's in. But those are the 3 nations mentioned in main nations in Gog Magog, Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Now they've kind of switched places here. it's kind of a little bit of a revolving door, but it's still, these are the key players, and it's just keeping those nations kind of at the forefront. But you're right, Erdogan, that the president of Turkey, despises Israel. He even talked about when the Gaza war was at its height and raging, even invading Israel. Now, most people thought that of just being bluster, but still that you would even say that. There were massive demonstrations in Istanbul. So, yeah, the Israelis, they would much rather have Russia being there as a stabilizing force than having Turkey there, because, Turkey can get Hamas in there. It can become even a worse hotbed of terrorism than it's been. You just shift the people from Gaza up to the north in Syria. And so, yeah, it is amazing, what politics, that the bedfellows that it can create, where Israel now wants Russia rather than having Turkey there. But it makes total sense to me, and I think they're certainly correct in that.